Oh, yeah. The feeling to be back. The feeling to be back. We're back. We're live on another Make Your Move Monday, kicking things off the way things need to be kicked off. In fact, let me check something real quick. Oh, we got one more Make Your Move Monday for the month, and then we on and popping in. Let me get this shared out on Facebook real quick. Mic check. You see what we're talking about all week, folks. Are you being called up or called out? There is a difference. And we're going to break down the difference today. Give me a second. Let me make sure it's all squared away. Facebook, we're good. YouTube YouTube University out here, baby. Let's see, what did I do? Interesting. 1 second, real quick. Let me see something really quick. Oh, that's probably why. Yeah, I was just doing something. All right, let's get into it. We'll dive into a lot of that stuff. Another tune. All right, here we go. Right into it. All right, let's get the party started. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day you're consuming it. Hope you're having a great time, a great day. In fact, I know you're having a great time, a great day because you are here, you're alive to consume it and be appreciative of that. Do not take that moment for granted. In fact, let me do something real quick because we got to get wired up here. It's been an eventful couple days, and we got to make sure all our ducks are in a row. Everything is charged, everything is plugged up, and we're gonna get going. All right. First and foremost, let me just introduce myself to anybody that may be new around here. My name, the correct pronunciation to my name, it's Aswand Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon to be 6-time published author and educator. I created this whole brand, this whole system, this whole framework, this whole way of thinking. It's really actually a movement I created that's all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a group of employees and they have a staff that moves as efficiently as a championship high school or youth football team. That's what we do around here in a nutshell. We just basically take that, and one of my superpowers is translating the things that go on, the positive things that go on from a teamwork standpoint in the football world, and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have that eagerness to it. They have that hunger. They have all of that is so very important. Hunger. They have all of that is so. All right, good. My apologies there with all the technology stuff. I was getting things right, things where I needed it to be. All right, so first and foremost, before we get into today's topic, which is going to be all about deciphering the difference between being called up and being called out, understanding when you get told something, when you get people telling you about yourself or critiquing you and giving you some criticism, offering you some insights, offering you something that can be beneficial to you, you have to have it in your own brain. You have to decipher the difference. If this person is telling me something and they're calling me out and telling me, hey, you're just not good enough to do what you are trying to do, or you're being called up and they're telling you, look, you can do better. Your standards are different. There's a process and there's a standard that you're not meeting and you need to get better at that. Listen to me very closely. This is absolutely key. This is absolutely key to be able to decipher between the two. All right. And I'll just tell you right now from jump, when you're being called up for something, it's going to feel a whole lot different than being called out, because being called up, it starts to mess with your inner, right? It starts to mess with your inner conscience, knowing that you're good enough to do a certain thing, knowing that your behind is good enough to do a task, yet for whatever reason, the task isn't being done. And you just got called. It feels like you're being called out for the task not being done. But what you're really being called out for is the fact that you're not meeting a certain standard that you have for yourself. So we will discuss that today. We'll discuss it tomorrow. We'll discuss it Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we're going to recap the whole thing to make sure you leave this week understanding that the best people to have around you are the people that are calling you up. And calling you up is going to be based on a mindset that you take today. It's going to be based on how you develop your mind today. What kind of systematic approaches do you take to your day-to-day right now in this very moment? That's the difference. All right. That's the key. We've got to make sure we adjust our mindset to where being called up is something now where we need to be, or something that is making it. So that's the way we naturally work, and then the way we naturally work with people. All right. So all that being said, before I get too deep into the topic today, let me just get through a couple of announcements here. First things first. If you're a business owner, as I mentioned, we're here to serve you as a business owner. We're here to teach you all about how to make it so you have a staff, you have a group of employees that has eagerness to them, hunger to them, a grind to them, that makes it so your business can run without you even being there, or your business can run even when if and when you're going to be in a situation where you can no longer run the business yourself. You have got to be in a place, or you got to have an approach or equation in place that is making it so the business is running in a solid way. So we do that in putting it basically into very simple process. It's establishing measurables, number one, plus creating a professional distance. And then only then will that equal the productive environment that you need and that you're hoping that you're going to have. All right. So establishing measurables, professional distance, and creating that productive environment is absolutely key. All you got to do is simply hit this button right here, put your name, number, and an email for you, and you will get a free guide from yours truly. That's not going to solve all your problems. It's going to at least get you on the right track. Now, if you do want your problems to actually be solved and me to come in and really diagnose what's going on in your organization, and you want an employee development workshop, and you want me to come in and speak directly to your staff and give them this positive energy, give them this positive insight, give them this understanding that they got to develop a mindset that makes it so your business is really working efficiently, then go to makeyamove.com. That is MAKEYAMOVE.com. You can do all the research that you need to do on me and how I operate and what it's all about. You can shop there, pick up a couple of copies of my book, whatever it is you need to do to get me to come in. It's all there. It's all available for you. So just be sure to go to makeyamove.com, your one-stop shop for all your teamwork and self-development needs. All right. So actually, you know what? Before that, let me go to this morning's Move Swiftly thought, because I have yet to listen to it myself. All right. So let me do that first, because I have not even a good chance. I was at a baseball game yesterday and got crazy. No, that's not the one we want. I applied to overthrow. All right, I'm gonna play this morning's Move Swiftly thought, and it's only about 44 minutes and 56 seconds long. I'll play it, and then from there I'll go directly to the article today, and allow you guys to address all the things that we're going to be discussing throughout the day, throughout the week, and all that kind of stuff. So first things first, let's go to today's Move Swiftly thought, which is going to kick off the actual question, which is, are you being called out or called up? So here we go. As Warren Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving you a perspective on teamwork that you will not get anywhere else.
We do not, hear me, we do not teach you to rise to the occasion, folks. What we do teach you is to fall to your level of preparation. Back, believe, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around the final Make Your Move Monday of June. Final Make Your Move Monday of June. We're going to reassess our goals this week, see where we're at, give myself a grade, and then we're going to go into July with some goals. We're going to but we're going to just go into July with measurables, figuring out what we need to do, where we went wrong the previous month. And trust me, I can tell you right now from jump, there was some things, there were multiple things that I did not hit, did not reach the goal. I would be strongly surprised if I gave myself higher than a damn D this month. However, what I did lose professionally, the makeup was what I did personally in the personal life, physical life, all that kind of stuff, and making sure we're on point with all of our 3 Ps. All right. So all that being said, let's get into today's Make Your Move kickoff question. For those of you who don't know, it's what we do every single Monday. We hit off a kickoff question. But what we do here, how we run things is very similar to a college football team and how college football teams run their business, and or any football team for that matter. We won't even say college, we just say football team, quality run football programs. And as always, they're starting the game off with the kickoff, right? Kickoff, making sure we're on point, making sure that kickoff coverage is on point, making sure it's all where it needs to be. Special teams can win and lose you a damn football game, right? So as far as the kickoff question for this week, it's, are you being called out or are you being called up? All right, now we're going to dive into this all week. All right, so be clear. We have a lot of football stories to get through, seeing that we're only a month away from the season actually starting. Camps are opening up. Things are going down. Just expect a lot of football stories. And, one of the things that have the reason that this question came to my head because of a sermon that I attended with my girl last week at Church by the Glades. If you want to listen to piece portions of it, go to Faith-Based Friday, where I went over it a little bit and stuff like that. But he was talking about fathers in regards to like Father's Day and stuff like that. And he asked the question, being called up or called out? And immediately when I heard that phrase, I immediately went to a former teammate I had who went back and forth with a coach and told him, hey, don't call me out like that. Now, this particular player was a very, very talented player. He was very talented. He's actually from Florida, one of the few guys from Stony Brook that played at Stony Brook that was from Florida. So he had a great deal of talent. He came from UConn, actually. He started out at UConn and then transferred to Stony Brook. So he had that FBS actual talent. And he went to the coach and said, don't ever call me out like that. But the truth is, when you have that kind of talent, you're going to get called out in the means of being called up. Now, I'm going to explain all this a little later. Just tap it. Make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing. And shout out to the new subscribers, too, by the way. Make sure you're liking and sharing this video out to anybody that's in business, that are leaders, that are in the business of delegating and getting people in the right position, which is everybody, if you're going to be honest with you. But make sure you understand there's a difference. There's subtle differences, and there's things on the back end. There's a story. There's characteristics and traits and all sorts of things that go on in the back end to give you the indication on if a leader is calling you out or calling you up, or a peer is calling you out or calling you up. You got to know the difference between the two, because there are times in which you will be getting called out on certain things. And when you are called out on certain things, you got to just let it go. Because sometimes, hey, look, it just may not be for you. Like you put me in a calculus room and I have no idea what I'm talking about, right? That's me being called out, and you don't have the ability to really know a lot about calculus. Now, if I'm in a room where we're talking football and there's something that I need to know or something that I didn't know, then I'm being called up to know about it, right? Because that's more my forte and where I'm at. So understanding that gives you a very clear path towards success. It gives you a clear path towards what you need to be doing in regards to what's going to be beneficial to not only your life, but your business and all the people that depend on you to make great decisions. All right. So all that being said, again, make sure you like and comment.
All right. So that was just a really, really brief overview of it. I want to start. I'm going to go back to start playing those a little more often. If you wanted a quick, if you're more of the person that likes quick videos, not long formatted videos, I do the Move Swiftly thought that it won't go over 8 minutes, depending on what I'm going to be talking about. Usually doesn't go over 8 minutes. So, and then I come in and I speak on this in a more expanded form or if you like reading, the articles on Medium, you could read some of the similar topics. So all of this is system developing. So, you get a weekend like I just had where things came up and I went to a baseball game, had dinner and all that kind of stuff. If the work isn't done previously, then I don't get the opportunity to do those things. So it's like I was just saying, I know for a fact my professional goals are not going to be hit. It's not going to be a very great grade when I go back and look at last month's article. But I do think that when you talk about the way the pillars and the way I live my life, this business, between this business, my life, relationships, everything, I go by the 3 Ps. Meaning you got to connect with people personally, got to connect with people physically, and then you got to connect with people from a professional standpoint. Those are the 3 Ps. So when you think about those pillars, the three pillars that I live my life by, again, physically, personally, and professionally. Yes, professionally, did not meet a standard that I've set for myself this month, but the personal side has, gone above and beyond what I've ever expected. So we'll dive into all of that kind of stuff. And it's important. It is important because when you're talking about being a leader, when you're talking about delegating, when you're talking about being someone that others are depending on, there's a big difference between waking up every morning and only giving a shit about yourself, only giving a shit about how you eat or how you gonna pay your bills or how you're gonna do, only living with yourself or doing life for you with no responsibilities for other people. That's a completely different mentality to take than being with someone or being responsible for people, having the responsibility and taking on that responsibility and then deciding you still want the responsibility, even though you know how much work it's going to require. All right. Now, I'm not saying this as a means of going on a tangent. I'm saying this because it's leading me right in to today's Make You Move kickoff question. Today's Make You Move kickoff question is knowing the difference. All right. Knowing the difference if you're being called out or being called up. You got to know it. You got to know it beyond knowing it, because again, everything is not going to go as planned in life. All right. In life, shit is not going to happen the way you expected it. It is not going to go according to plan. And the reason I started out I had this image to start to kick off this article. It's of a player who's running a 40, and he's running a 40 in front of a bunch of NFL scouts. It's because this is going to be what life is like. You have to be sprinting. You have to be going after your goals. And there are going to be people watching you and timing you and measuring you and judging you, and all sorts of things are going to be going on. And you have to be locked and loaded. Focus on the vision, focus on the goals, have tunnel vision. All right. And then when things happen, when critiques happen, all right, am I being called out or am I being called up? Am I being called out or am I being called up? You got to have those folks around you that can decipher, but that can help you decipher between the two. All right. So first and foremost, let me just get directly into the article. And as usual, as I read it, I will start explaining certain things that expanding on certain points that I make. All right. So here we go. Yes, again, for my regular readers, welcome back. It's another Make You Move Monday. And yes, another kickoff question designed to punch through the noise and get you thinking deeply about your week. For first timers, this isn't your average motivational fluff. Around here, what we do is rooted in real life, in real leadership, and it's evergreen. Today's question: are you being called out or called up? What's the difference? All right. This question hit me hard during a church sermon I heard on Father's Day. The pastor, Scott Williams, delivered a message that immediately lit a fire. You can watch the sermon here. Yeah, guys, go watch this sermon for yourself. He absolutely brought it. It's a great sermon. Scott Williams, Thermostat Dad. Go watch that for yourself. It is worth the 30 minutes of your life. He absolutely brings it. All right. So he was talking about fathers, those who may feel insecure or unprepared for the responsibility. In his words, some men need to understand what feels like pressure is really a calling up. Boom, light bulb moment. Instantly, I flash back to my playing days at Stony Brook University. One practice, a player got singled out by a coach in front of everyone. Afterward, I heard the player tell the coach, "Hey, don't you ever call me out like that again. Don't call me out like that again." All right. Here's what clicked. That's when it clicked. All right. Being called out is about exposure. All right. You're being exposed. You're being exposed for something that you can't do, that you physically don't have the ability to do. When you got called out, all right, you got called out. Let's say you go to the grocery store. I'm going to translate this into just regular everyday life. You go to the grocery store, you're looking through the fruits, and you see one of the grapes it has mold on it. It's one of the grapes is defective, and you just don't buy that batch. That grape that got defected, it's being called out. All right. I'm not putting that shit in my mouth. I'm not putting that on the field. I'm not putting that in the workforce. I'm not putting those things in a situation in which I can cause harm, and it's going to be a situation where they're not ready, or it's a situation where it's not fit for what the hell it is I want to do. If you want to stay on the example of the grapes, it's a grape that has some mold on it. I saw some mold on it, and it's not going in my mouth. It's not going in my bite. Now, the other ones, they look nice and ripe and fresh, and everything is good. But there's one grape in that batch that says, nope, and that grape is called out. And even if you do get it, you're not putting it in your mouth. You're sitting right there on the plate, and it's not moving. It's not going in your mouth. That's what I mean when I say getting called out. When you're called out, all right, you're called out, you are exposing some flaws. There's an exposure there. There's an exposure there to something that you do that you are immorally doing, unethically doing in so many ways. There's so many things that need to be called out that don't get said, that go unsaid. And the reason that we have this dilemma and this dynamic in the first place is because too often do we grow so close to our comfort zone. Do we move up? Do we grow? When I say grow, I mean grow in age and grow in just how big you are, like not grow mentally and grow in a spiritual sense. You're just growing as in getting older and fatter. All right. That's what I mean when I say growing. All right. Too often do people grow up and they're always avoiding calling people out, or they've avoided themselves. They've gotten the habit of themselves being in a situation where whatever they do, they want to do it to a point where they don't get called out because they know their bum ass is not qualified to do certain things. So they decide that they're going to go and dance around this, and they're going to go get this certification. I'm going to go with more school. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a bunch of shit that distracts me from actually accepting the fact, look, not good enough to do that thing. I need to put my focus and my energy on the things that I know that I can produce results on. All right. That's what being called out is about. It's about the exposure of an ability that you don't have. So if you want to stay on the example, I'm going to stay on the example of this particular player that I brought up. Actually, before I get on the example, let me read called up first. And now, being called up is about elevation. And the truth is, in the moment, it can be hard to tell which one is happening, especially when emotions are high. So let's go back to the example that I shared here when I played at Stony Brook. All right. This part, and I touched on it in today's Move Swiftly Thought a little bit. All right. But I'm going to expand on it because this is true with a lot of people who are doing something that they're naturally gifted at doing, but they don't realize that even though you have some innate ability to do certain things, there's still a developmental process that needs to occur, and it needs to be occurring every single day. You need to be finding something I don't care how much talent you got, how much ability you have, or how well you are put together in the resume standpoint, or how good of a week you had last week, how good of a day, how good of a moment, how much so-and-so likes you, and how much this. I don't care any of that shit. You still got to put yourself in a position where, you're regularly calling yourself up and you're regularly doing things that get better. So I say all that. I wanted to explain all that as an example because this particular player, like I mentioned in the Move Swiftly Thought, was an absolute dog. I mean, when you talk about talent, we played linebacker. We were all in the linebacker crew together. I remember he was, beating running backs and back and forth. Like, he was that fast. He was that dynamic of a speed guy. He strong Strong player, again, just well put together. And you could tell, again, a lot of the guys that come from Florida, when you're talking about football, he was in St. Petersburg, Florida. He played at Stony Brook. He was at Stony Brook, but he was one of the few guys that came from Florida. And you can sort of see, okay, this is one of those dogs. It's one of those Florida dogs that come out, play some football, and you can see just raw talent. You can see raw talent, all right? The issue with him is he thought he was a superstar. The issue with him is you have to understand that even though you had unbelievable talent, there's still a team game. It's still a team game in which you have to make sure you're not putting your teammates in harm's way. So, I mean, again, me as a linebacker during those times and someone that watched film a lot, you would see him be out of position over and over again. He'd be out of position. He'd be jumping this gap, leaving holes open, jumping out of here, not setting the edge, doing a bunch of stuff that put the defense in a bind. All right, put the defense in a bind. And over time, it just got incredibly frustrating because what happens now is when you go from high school to college, yes, even though he is incredibly talented, there's still a lot of guys that are just as talented, even if they're not as talented. Like, let's say he's here and there's some guys like right here talent-wise, that makeup, they can make up for the fact that they're not as talented with just knowing the playbook, knowing where they need to be, and then you see them over time develop into just a better overall player versus the guy who's just this much talented as another guy, but he's not developing, he's not in this playbook, he's not following the plays, and he just keeps getting this way, because the talent is not actually being developed. All right. So when he goes and tells a coach, hey, don't you ever call me out like that? In my head, again, I don't have the details. I didn't even hear what the coach had said to him. But what I do know is that when it comes to his talent and when it comes to the game of football, I know for a fact that coach wasn't calling anybody out. He used to, yell at people the same way. He used to give everybody the same royal treatment that everybody got. He was a mean, angry, yelling, cuss your behind out type of a coach. And we all got the same mean, yelling, cuss your ass out type of a coach. All of us. All right. Again, you could be a mean person, but you better be a mean person to everybody on that field. All right. That's the important part. There's nobody out there telling you, hey, don't be a be a nice football coach or be a nice teacher, be a nice leader. No one's telling you to do that. We don't want that. But if you're going to be an asshole, make sure you be an asshole to everybody. And then when someone does what they need to do, when someone does a good job, and you give that person a damn compliment when they do a great job. So again, if you go back to the example that I'm sharing, is when he got quote unquote called out, in my mind, I knew this was just him being stubborn. This was you being stubborn and not wanting a coach to tell your ass, look, you need to fill this gap. We need to stay here. You need to hold the line of scrimmage. You need to do something. And now all of a sudden he's being called out and he's going to go back and forth with a coach as a player. So those are the reasons that he never actually, I'm talking about, I'm not putting his name out there or anything like that, but I'm talking about a player that could have easily, had he had his head on right and really focused, easily would have been playing in the NFL, easily would have at least gotten on a practice squad somewhere, spent some time, in the NFL, bouncing around, being like a journeyman in the NFL. I know for a fact he was that talented of a player to do that. But again, attitude is everything. And I'm bringing all this up because what he may not have known is that, hey, when I'm being talked to a certain way, when someone's telling me to do something, it doesn't always mean a negative thing. In many ways, and pretty much all the time, in my opinion, it actually means something positive. It means, hey, the coach sees something in me that is making it so I'm not letting the day go by where I'm slacking off and I'm not getting better, and it's things like that. So there's a difference. There's a subtle difference between, okay, coach, I got called out, or I got called up. If you start saying this to yourself, if you start saying, look, I got called up, okay, let's get this money. Let's go get this money. Coach done got at me. I need to get better. I messed up. Let's go get this money this next time. That's the difference, is taking in the criticism, taking in the critique and how critical some people are of some of the little things you do, and saying, okay, that person sees something in me. Let me go get better. Let me utilize what I saw or what that person said, be grateful for it, and then I'm going to go get better. Not enough people think like that. Not enough people do that. Too often do we just see people go into this damn shell and they got this blank look on their face. As soon as somebody tells them about themselves, as soon as somebody tells them, look, you need to step your shit up, now all of a sudden we the bad guys. Now all of a sudden we being too harsh, or we being too girl, we being too mean, and listen, and then when you look back on your life, you're gonna miss. I'm telling you right now. You look back on your life, you don't have the money to pay for what it is you're trying to do. You're not, you're not really in a rewarding situation. You're just sort of paying rent or just going by the motions. You're going to literally be chomping at the bit. I mean, just missing the people that really got up in your behind. I'm telling you right now, because there's those people that keep your ass in check, that make you get better and better and better and better. The toughest times, all right? Toughest times. In fact, just yesterday, I went to a baseball game. I went to a baseball game and I had a great conversation, great conversation. I'll put his name out there, but it was my girlfriend's father. We had a incredible time. And I remember on the way back, he had asked me why I stopped drinking alcohol. And there's a long answer to it, but I'll give you the shorter one as we get through the article. Shorter answer is, look, I saw my father and my grandfather deal with a kidney issue. All right. And many times I felt like that was a punishment, or I felt unlucky to have had a situation or watch my dad go through it. But no, that was actually God calling me up and say, Aswan, you don't need to be in that. All right, you got the game of football. You have, mother. My mother would always, run with me and wake me up every morning and do track and go to the track and work out and run stairs and all that. You know better. You don't need to be out there, even if it is free, even if the alcohol is free, and even if it is fun, and even if it is something that you can have some enjoyment or feel like you're in the crowd and all that, you don't need to be doing that. That's the difference, folks. It's having some damn responsibility, holding yourself accountable to be doing things that you know are going to be conducive to your development. That's what it's all about. All right. So here it is. And I sort of started stepping on it. I started stepping on it as I was talking. But this is what we do again. Go read the article in full on medium.com. And by the way, if you do follow me on Medium, there is a chance that I will be doing a free book for the new book that's coming out, How to Be a Wintrepreneur. There is a possibility of me doing a free book giveaway for all of my Medium followers and stuff like that. Medium is one of those platforms where I just absolutely love myself being a writer, someone that likes to put things together in words and stuff like that. It's really enjoyable for me. So anyway, clear diagnosis. Let's simplify it. Being called out, you're not equipped, you don't have the skills, or you're falling short and someone is exposing it. Being called up, you have the ability, but maybe you're not delivering at the standard, or you just haven't found the confidence yet. Someone sees the potential and wants to elevate you. Big difference. I'm going to read that again for the people in the back, right? For the folks in the back who didn't hear me, all right? The folks all up in the back, all way back there. You didn't hear me. All right. It needs to be an emphasis on the diagnosis. All right. This is important stuff. And if you put it in your head now, if you decipher the difference right now in this moment when you are hearing my voice and when you're speaking, okay, you will know the people in your life. You will start to attract the people in your life when you start to attract the people in your life that are more in a situation in which they're trying to help you be called up. All right. When they call you out, it's actually in many ways can be you getting called up because you just are in a situation where it's like, look, I know that part ain't for me. That part ain't for me. And I'll just give you a quick story as I give you the emphasis. All right. There was when I worked, I used to be a daycare counselor or a counselor. Basically, they called us educators, but we were daycare counselors / educators because the company was this company named KinderCare. And as usual, I was the only guy I'm usually the only guy in these situations when you work in, education, especially at this age. So anyway, the part of the responsibility of the daycare was to change diapers. All right. And I got to a situation where, again, they didn't want me as a man changing diapers. So that's me being called out. Like, look, Asma, that part ain't going to be for you. But at the same time, I can't change that, but I could come up with like fun games and sport activities and stuff like that. So me taking my focus away from changing diapers and putting that time in creating some fun obstacle courses and games for the kids to play. That's going to, make them fun, teach teamwork and all that. That's what I mean. Being called out versus being called up. Let's go again. Again, being called out. You are not equipped. You don't have the skills, or you're falling short, and someone is exposing it. Someone exposed it. Somebody, and this part doesn't come from a boss, doesn't come from a superiors. All right. Superiors in many ways have gotten to the point where they're just hiring whoever and making sure the damn building doesn't burn down. Right. But your peers, the people that see you on an everyday basis, when they start recognizing that you don't have the skills and you're not equipped and you're falling short in a certain area, when they start calling your ass out, then it starts to hit the soul a little bit. Then it starts to creep in. Then it starts to be like, okay, oh shit, I really don't have what it takes to do what it is I say I want to do. All right. That's the difference. See, that's the power in pairs. When I say pairs, I mean PEER. Yeah, two E's, TEER. Pairs, your friends, the folks around you that's working in the same industry, working in the same position as you. When your peers start putting your shit on blast, all right, then you start to say, okay, there's something off here. And I have to reassess exactly what the hell it is I'm doing. Now, being called up is a completely different thing, right? Being called up, you have the ability. All right, you have the ability. They see it in you. You're good enough. Like the teammate I had that I was referring to earlier. You clearly have the ability. Came from the UConn Huskies. All right, he was a player, absolute dog. All right, he's an absolute dog. Okay, you have the ability, but maybe you're not delivering at the standard. All right, if the standard is, hey, I need you in this gap, I need you doing this, or I need your students here, I need this, I need that. If that's the standard, and you as a person that I know has the ability to do it, and it's not getting done, you're not delivering on the standard. All right, that is the issue. Or you haven't found the confidence yet. Right there, when you're not delivering, you will not have the confidence. It works hand in hand. It works both ways. When you're not delivering on the results and delivering on the standard that you should be delivering on, you won't have the confidence. You won't have the confidence. All right. This is why you see all the time when you get great players who drop passes and that standard is to catch the fucking ball and they keep dropping it, their confidence goes. All right. Their confidence is not there when they are dropping passes that they know how to make. When you see players miss free throws, too many free throws, it starts to get in their head and they start realizing there's a certain standard that I have in place that I'm able to do, and I need to make sure I'm living up to that standard every day. When you live up to that standard, your confidence grows. Someone sees the potential and wants to elevate you. So they push your ass and they push your ass and they push your ass and they push your ass to the point where you get emotional, where you start crying, where you just can't take it anymore. This pushy dictator is all up my ass every single day because he or she knows I have the what? Ability to do it. They would not, nobody would anybody with worth of salt in this business when it comes to leadership would push you when they know in their heart of hearts that you can't do what they're asking you to do. Nobody, not a leader that's worth a shit would ask anybody to do something that they genuinely don't have the ability to do. The key ingredient is the ability. All right. Focus on the ability to be able to do certain things. And then if you have the ability, if you have what it takes, it will be recognized. But it's your job to develop it, nurture it, make sure the ability is in a situation where you're constantly growing. All right. So let's finish out the article soon. I usually cut these around 45 minutes. So how I answer this question. Oh, yeah, I didn't even guess. So, all right. So basically how it works. And if you're a first time consumer, this is how it works. I'll put a make your move kickoff question out there first, and then I will explain it depending on how much of a tangent I go on. But at some point, I will answer the question for myself as a means of being a model and being someone that you can look at and say, okay, so as one answers the question, I'm going to try to apply it towards my situation, however it works. That's the way we work. I'm practicing, call that practicing what you preach. All right. So how I answer this question is I constantly strive to put myself in position to be called up. How? By constantly taking the initiative to call myself out. If something I'm working on fails, whether it's a business venture, a video, client pitch, a workout, I stopped and reflect. What role did I play in the result? What did I miss? What can you adjust? All right. You saw a little bit of that earlier today, or you listened to it on the Move Swiftly Thought, where, again, we're approaching that last Monday in June, and the last Monday of every month, I reassess my goals, see how I did for the month, and then I put new goals in for the next month. I set it right there. Hey, I know for a fact I'm not going to get a really favorable grade because there were things done things that I said I wanted to do professionally this month that did not get done. That's how you continuously get in positions to be called up, is because you're ready to call yourself out whenever it needs to be, ever. Always be in a situation to where I'm always putting myself in a situation where I'm getting ready to be called out because X and Y did not get done. That's what happens when you have goals. That's what happens when you want to see a better future. That's what happens when you want to build something not only for yourself, but special for your family and the people that are closest to you. And you want to raise young people to do amazing things and go out into the world and be a huge success. You got to start to look at your shit and say, hey, I got to step it up, and constantly call yourself out. Constantly. You should not be in a situation where somebody else is calling you out more than you are. Right. You should be in a situation where you're the worst, or you are the most critical person of yourself and how you do things and what you're all about. That should be it. And only at that point are you going to run into folks who give a shit enough about you to say, okay, I can rock with you. You're the kind of person I want to work with. You're the kind of person that I can see. I'm here 1 year. It's 2025. I'm here. By the time we get to 2028, we're going to be here. And then we just going to keep leveling up and leveling up and leveling up and leveling up and leveling up, because we're in a situation where we're constantly calling ourselves out first. All right. So if something I'm working on fails, whether it's business venture, a video, a client pitch, a workout, I stop and reflect. All of this is trackable information that you can see on the internet. What did I miss? What can I adjust? One of my favorite books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The difference between the poor dad and the rich dad is the rich dad, or the poor dad would say, hey, or by Robert Kiyosaki, if you didn't know, it gets mentioned on this show it gets mentioned on this platform quite a bit. But the poor dad would always run around saying, oh, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. I can't afford it. I can't afford it. But the rich dad would always have the question, how can we afford it? All right. Whether you get the shit or not, the issue is you're asking the wrong questions to your kids, man. You're asking the wrong questions to your kids. You're putting the wrong questions in your kid's mind. All right. Your kids should be thinking about, okay, mommy, daddy, I want XY thing at the store. You should not be asking your kids, or you should not be responding to your children. Now, I'm gonna put this scenario, all right, because if you have kids and they want something from the store and you can't afford it, you should not be saying that to your kids. You don't tell your kids you can't afford something. The question, you put that in a question mark, and you phrase it, or you frame the response in a question mark, and you say, how can we afford it? How can we afford it? Even if you never get the thing, planting that mentality in a young person's mind is absolutely legendary. It's absolutely life-changing. All right. Too often do they get old, do they get to damn being 13 years old, and next thing you know, they're running around telling you what you can and can't afford, and they're talking money at this age. No, listen, they need to have the mentality of, okay, how can we afford the things? How can we go and get the finer things in life? How can we do it? There's a big difference in raising a damn child and just putting the point in the money, and money can't do this. No. How can we do it? How can we do it? That's how you grow shit. All right. That's how stuff grows. All right. Let me finish out the article, because I'm on one. All right. So this is what self-leadership looks like. And here's the kicker. When you get into the habit of calling yourself out, the right people start showing up in your life. People who want to develop you. People who see something in you. And like Pastor Scott Williams, people like, let me read it again. People want to develop you. people who see something in you, people like Pastor Scott Williams, who take time to tell you you're not being punished, you're being prepared. That level of alignment doesn't happen by accident. It's the product of intentional self-inventory over and over again. Final word: if you want to be a leader, father, a coach, creator, a entrepreneur, then get in the habit of calling yourself out privately so you're ready when the right voice comes along and calls you up publicly. Come on. Because being called up isn't just a compliment, it's a responsibility, one that you've already proven you can carry. Stay ready so you don't gotta get ready. Come on, somebody. Oh, that was a kickoff question today. Make it move kickoff question. Make it move Monday, baby. All right, all that being said, I already see I'm at 45 minutes. Again, main website to check out to dive deeper into all the work I'm doing. It's your one-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. It's makeitmove.com. Again, guys, this is so important. Employee development. You start implementing, you start incorporating these things in your services, in your staff. You will see all of this energy, this incredible energy I got. Start to see it just bleeding through your organization, and that's what you want. Again, makeitmove.com. You guys can, as one Crookshank, check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.